There is a fence dividing our nation, separating individuals on the basis of morals and beliefs. This fence is abortion. The groups on either side are the pro-choice group and the pro-life group, both fighting for rights, the right to choose and the right to life. The fence aims to distort our view, and honestly, it does a good job, because it forces us to be narrow-minded as we try to peek at the other side through their visible cracks, their obvious weaknesses, and it gives us only one option: to poke under, over, or all around the issue. Tonight, I'm here to help you tear down the fence, because really, it's only a facade. At its roots, it is emotional and ideological, a psychological fight in a response to a breach of personal rights. And the protection of these rights is a core value of the American nation. And so anything or anyone who threatens them becomes our enemy. According to the Pew Research Center, this fearful response is dividing us. 58% of Americans want abortion to be legal in most or all cases, while 37% want the opposite. However, we cannot view this topic with a firm us versus them mentality, but with the readiness to find what's true and be understanding. Abby Johnson, former director and advocate for Planned Parenthood, summed up the importance of seeing the other side's point of view by posing this question. In all likelihood, as you look through the fence, you will see faulty thinking and harmful behavior on the other side. Are you ready to look through the fence and see goodness, compassion, generosity, and self-sacrifice on the other side? This right here is my goal for you and me this evening. But to advance towards the lifeline, we first need to understand where we are in this journey. So let me share with you a timeline of abortion rulings that have shaped American culture since our nation's founding. So, 1776, the law actually protected abortion until the woman could perceive fetal movement. 1916, Planned Parenthood was founded by Margaret Sanger, a sexual activist who challenged the status quo with the idea that women should be able to control their own bodies and future. 1970, Hawaii, followed by New York, Alaska, and Washington annulled their state laws prohibiting abortion. January 22nd, 1973. The tide turned when the Supreme Court, in the now famous Roe v. Wade case, ruled that a woman had a right to an abortion according to the right of privacy. In response to this achievement, pro-life groups formed and tension arose. And so, in 1993, an abortion doctor was assassinated for the first time. By 2000, the medical abortion pill was approved by the FDA. And finally, January 24th, 2019. The New York Reproductive Health Act was revised and repealed to enable abortion through 24 weeks of pregnancy, in absence of fetal viability or in the possibility of protecting the woman's health. Today, a baby who within days, hours, or moments could be born is in danger of death. This timeline highlights the most integral moments in the shaping of the abortion movement in America. However, it represents a narrow view excluding the others involved, like the baby and the father. An exploration into the causes and motives behind abortion reveals the selfish qualities of society. The Center for Disease Control defines illegal induced abortion as an intervention performed by a licensed clinician that is intended to terminate an ongoing pregnancy. There is a slew of controversy upon the personhood of the baby, whether life begins at conception, the brain functioning, the quickening, the heartbeat, or even birth. However, I argue that a baby is a person from the moment of conception, a point that will be fully supported later on in my thesis. Choice is also a controversial word. So to clarify, the scope of my thesis will apply solely to healthy teens or women who are of the age of consent to have sex where rape was not involved. My reason for this distinction is the fact that abortion is invariably linked to many different causes, which I cannot fully address here. Although commonality among them is an elevation of the importance of the self, extreme circumstances pertaining to minors, rape, and life and death situations needs an entire thesis on its own. My thesis focuses in on the underlying self-centeredness at the root of choice. First, we will examine the foundation of the fence, which is the history of abortion as a step on the slippery slope of eugenics. Second, we will look at its structural integrity by examining the motivating self-centeredness at the root of choice. And third, we will tear down the facade by exposing the manipulative language that aims to justify abortion. Planned Parenthood, with 12 million supporters, is in a powerful position as the nation's largest provider of reproductive health service. But what is not widely known is that the direction of the organization was guided by Margaret Sanger's deeply rooted belief in the science of eugenics, a controlled, selective breeding method for an implied benefit to society. Via eugenics, she promoted good breeding, which is done by weeding out the unfit and preventing the birth of defectives. Although beginning on the basis of birth control, her work soon grew to encompass abortion to achieve her goal, which is detailed in her series titled My Way to Peace. In it, she states, the first step would thus be to control the intake and output on morons, mental defectives, and epileptics. This thinking is the same tactic used by Nazis in World War II towards perfecting humanity. Although beginning on the basis of birth control, her work soon grew to encompass abortion, and her methods were tainted with racism towards the Black community, whom she viewed as genetically inferior. The truth of Planned Parenthood's foundation is infamous. Recognizing Sanger's stain on their reputation, Planned Parenthood admits the history of racism and ableism in America is an issue we must all address, including at Planned Parenthood. The slippery slope of eugenics starts with the very definition of ethnocentrism, the belief that one group is superior to the other groups. The thought process goes like this: the other is deemed less valuable, less deserving of rights, and problematic to the human species. In comparison to the superior, the other is vermin, and thus becomes disposable. This view of life is fundamental to many fictional and actual occurrences throughout history, including Hitler's Third Reich, the Cambodian genocide, and the society in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. I am not putting up a straw man fallacy claiming that those who support abortion are World War II Nazis, but I use the comparison to expose the common thread of belief running through their actions. When this belief that some group of people are deemed less valuable, deserving of rights, or human is allowed to run rampant, destruction follows. Hopefully the connection of abortion to its eugenics origin helped you to understand the bigger picture. Although today, the qualifications for which babies make the in-group and out-group are more socially acceptable, we are still deciding who is valuable enough to be given life and who is not. And it is because of the evil perpetuated by eugenics that it is so important for us to have visited this fence's foundation. Today's culture is still degenerating down the slippery slope, exposing cracks in the structural integrity of the fence that is abortion. It stands upon the implied benefit of the singular. The availability of abortion is creating a culture of convenience breeding, a close relative to selective breeding. Many are making the decision on the basis of their own preference or desire to have a child, either way placing themselves as sovereign over the life of the unborn baby. Stripped down, this heavy decision finds its root in subconscious self-centeredness and unspoken elitism. But it is not only selfish, it is playing God. The Guttmacher Institute conducted a study collecting the reasons that women give for their abortions. 74% of the women surveyed said that a baby would drastically impact their lives. 73% reported they could not afford a baby now. 48% did not want to be a single mother or are having relationship problems. 38% had completed their childbearing, and 25% reported they were not ready for a child or the timing was just simply wrong. Though the reasons vary, the commonality among them is an elevation of the importance of the self over another. An excerpt of Planned Parenthood's counseling for abortion reveals this unapologetically selfish outlook that is actually encouraged. It says, decisions about your pregnancy are deeply personal. You hold the power to make decisions that are best for you in order to stay on your own path towards a healthy and meaningful life. This watered-down description of pregnancy utterly erases the future of the baby from the picture and makes the woman's choice a matter of self-care. Does raising a son or daughter not fit the picture of a meaningful life? Pregnancy is not a wild card in a choose-your-own-adventure game. However, the attractiveness of a simple fix to social, familial, and economic problems often allows us to justify abandoning our deepest convictions and leads many scared and hurting women to overlook the facts. Abortion, as a solution to voluntary sex, sacrifices life for convenience. Doug Bando, an American political writer and contributor, put it this way: but abortion is not just another choice. Rather, it is a flight from responsibility. Abortion is a response to choice. That is the decision to have sex. Other than in cases of rape, sex is voluntary, and sometimes the result is an unwanted baby. In the same Guttmacher Institute study, the percentage of women who contributed their abortion to rape was 1%, while incest was less than 0.5%. Thus, my thesis is speaking directly to the vast majority of women who are choosing to have sex. Pro-choice arguments have cracks and weaknesses. The foundation is shifting and the fence is crumbling. Now, the facade of this fence is not as convincing as it first appears. Phrases like, "It's your body, your choice," "pro-woman," and "keep your laws off my body," are broadcast at pro-choice rallies pleading with the hearts of onlookers trying to abuse their tendency to jump on the bandwagon. This propaganda amplifies our human inclination towards selfishness and the desire that we all have to justify it. And so, we can be easily deceived by the manipulative half-truths in language that aims to justify both abortion and the good that it provides women. The pro-choice movement also undermines the hard reality of abortion by replacing words like baby and abortion with pregnancy, massive cells, or doctor's appointments. It also refuses to deal with words like loss and killing, which are words that patients need to be able to express their concerns about. Jennifer Baumgardner, pro-choice feminist and creator of the I Had an Abortion film, recognized this flaw in pro-choice methods. In her book, Abortion and Life, she explicitly affirms suppressing language, policing ourselves so we don't slip up and say baby, contributes to the split between our politics and our lives. The personal is political, and any feminist worth her speculum knows that divisions between the two will drain her of both strength and dignity. This politically correct extreme is harmful. The personal cannot be separated from the political if our goal is to show others compassion. These pro-choice catchphrases are an individualistic and self-centered view of a situation that involves more than one. This tears down the facade of being pro-woman, because the reality is pregnancy makes abortion a matter of two bodies, a matter of his or her right to, and because being truly pro-woman means standing up for the rights of every young woman, mother, grandmother, and little girl, including the baby girl in the womb. Discussing a pregnancy without the validity of the baby turns a serious situation into an easily cured situation. Abortion has become so normalized that it is made out to be nearly as natural as going to the dentist for a teeth cleaning. While these killings are regarded as mere medical procedures or doctor's appointments, the plain truth is the fetus is not a disease that needs to be removed. Although keeping the baby may seem more complicated, it is the loving choice. However, fear can keep many women from going through with a difficult or painful pregnancy. One of the biggest scares for pro-choice supporters is the resurgence of the need for dangerous underground abortions. And so today, people still fear that a world without abortion will risk women's lives. Firstly, the purpose of my thesis is not to make abortion illegal, but to reveal the self-centeredness woven through such a decision. And secondly, the argument that the pro-life agenda is dangerous has been largely fabricated and cannot be a compelling factor for two main reasons. One, the availability of abortion threatens the mental health of pregnant women. A study published in the British Journal of Psychiatry found that women who aborted have a 55% higher risk of mental health problems compared to women with an unplanned pregnancy who gave birth. And two, the era of back alley abortions is not the high-scale horror that it is often presented to be. Dr. Nathanson, pro-life activist who previously was the co-founder of the National Abortion Rights Action League, reveals that he and others involved intentionally exaggerated the large number of women who allegedly died because of illegal abortions. Another popular claim of those in support of the pro-choice movement is that women have a right to choose when they want to have a baby line. However, just as the Declaration of Independence states, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the right to life must come first. Without the right to life, all other rights have no purpose. Before I address the personhood of the baby, I want to urge you to consider this. There is a potential for joy to be written into the story of every unborn child when they are given life, despite their circumstances. And the value that this adds to their personhood is not dependent on what he or she can contribute or how he or she may make someone else's life complicated. Sometimes they will only bring a smile or company, and it is no one's right to decide that that is not enough. Both sides of the political fence view personhood as the indicator of value, but the debate exists over when this begins. Some say that an unborn baby does not have a sure enough possibility of life that can justify protecting it, and that a zygote, the stage of development at the point of conception, is not a person because it does not look human or it has not reached a high enough level of personhood. However, I am 18 years old and still not fully developed until the age of 21. Am I less of a person at 40 weeks than I am now at 939? Of course not. Then how can society draw a line and say that 10 weeks is different in personhood from 40, is different from 939? To put this into perspective, if a simple single-cell organism was finally found on Mars today, the entire world would rejoice in life found on Mars. Where is our consistency? Although the many pro-choice supporters believe that the fetus is not yet a person until birth, science and philosophy actually prove otherwise. The conjoining of the sperm and ovum creates an entirely new entity with a unique destiny than that of the mother. It contains its own genetic code, DNA, and the genes necessary for a complete human being, separating it from any skin cell. And even the zygote is able to initiate the process of creating the 30 trillion cell adult and generate a biochemical and hormonal influence on the mother, meeting the two universally accepted criteria of life and making it different from the cells which gave birth to it. It is also by definition an organism, a living human being, because while producing complex tissues, structures, and organs throughout growth, it is directing its own development towards the more mature stages of life. Without interference, he or she will be born as a living, breathing, feeling child. We've seen both sides of the fence. We've seen purpose, conviction, and the desire to love women. And we've also seen the fear of losing what is held dearly on both sides. Now that we've revealed modern abortion's connection to its eugenics origin, scoped out the integrity of the case to find an underlying self-centeredness, and torn down the facade by exposing the manipulative language that aims to justify abortion, we must decide on a way to truly love women while valuing every person created in the image of God. I want to propose the next step: empowering women in the midst of pregnancy crisis to choose life. This means introducing women to the support and care that they need to live the life of freedom, abundance, and meaning that they were called to live. But life decisions need life support. It could look like counseling, options for adoption, connecting individuals or couples to a church or to organizations who can help provide material support. Because both sides of the political fence have been assessed with the goal of sharing and understanding, there's probably a painful awareness of the role that self-centeredness plays in normalizing abortion. But sugarcoating or blaming the choice on circumstances is never going to erase the repercussions of choosing to end the life of an unborn baby. Before I'm done, I want you to understand the urgency of this message. Since I started speaking 20 minutes ago, there have been 1,527 abortions worldwide. That is 76 lives lost per minute. We, as a society, have the choice to love them unconditionally, both the mothers and the babies. Choosing abortion is a choice rooted in self-centeredness that our society promotes simplistically. Giving life is a loving, even if more complicated choice. Thank you.